We getting seed money. We need seed money. That's that seed money. We need that.
Introduction. These books are...
Introduction? Yeah, but introduction to what? What is this? You just introductioning up to people. All right, so this is the first book of the Generational Health series, right? This is the first book. It's called what? What's the title of this book?
Atoms of Self-Development.
Atoms of Self-Development. Atoms of Self-Development. Come on, you can't be shy. You gotta say it like you when. Okay, look, just think that nobody's looking. Just come on, just say it out loud, lady. All right, so now we ready for you to bust out the introduction. Now we know what you introducing us to. Now you can,
Introduction. These books are to be read as a family to create this.
Don't rush, hold up. You gotta slow it down. Relax. Come on, look. Yep, in your nose, out your mouth. Come on. Come on, lady. All right, now that you're relaxed, everybody, you got your vibe.
These books are to be read as a family to create discussions, group learning, group sharing. This is how we build generational health, learning and teaching as a family. Chemistry
Hold up. You can't listen. You can't just fly through it, okay? It's going to be a lot of people in the YouTube world, like 100 people. They all going to be watching, right? You can't just go fast. You got to relax. So do you want to say peace or anything to the people out there? Tell them to go get the books.
Go get my dad's books. They're pretty good.
All right, so we are officially live. I know nobody's awake yet. That's a lie. People are awake, but I don't know if they're up. It's fine. Our new format allows for us to go live at any time, and then, these are kind of like the drafts. We'll edit it and repackage it and make sure that, Monday through Friday at 9 p.m. Right? Monday through Friday at 9 p.m. will be in a timely fashion. Right? But I got a question, right? And I wanted to start the live. So I'm not sure though. I'm still fine-tuning some stuff. So I'm not sure if Saturday is better for the live or Sunday. But for me, I'm still the minister. So Sunday school is still a thing for me. Right? Sunday school is still a thing. But I got a question, and I wanted to kind of start here with that question because we officially have a whole library now, right? It's we have a collection. We have beyond a collection of books. We have a few collections of books, right? We got Melanin versus Diabetes. We got the Race Hustler series. We got the Comedic Science series, which is enormous. We have series within series, right? So we have a library. And so I want you guys to be able to, and what I don't want is for people to lose focus on, I was going to say my goal, but, because it is my goal, right? But one of our goals, which is to get you guys writing the books, right? So I've gotten a few essays and I've started working with a few people on writing their books, right? But I want to see more participation with that, especially from the people in the Patreon. I want to see more people getting aggressive about putting out their books, right? So I think the onus, though, I think it starts with me, right? I think it starts with me in terms of being a better guide through the material, right? So I was with the boys and we was doing our little daily routine, and that's our time to build, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? Like, we talk, obviously we're together all day, you know what I'm saying? But that's our time to kind of build specifically on the science, but what's important to them. You know what I'm saying? Or even when I have the girls, because I go out with the boys usually twice and the girls once, right? Because the girls are not as interested in exercise as the boys, right? But me and the boys will go out early with the dog, you know what I'm saying? Or sometimes without the dog. And then the boys and the girls will go out later on, Chloe is more like just, she's superficial with it. She just doesn't want to look, she doesn't want to grow into somebody that doesn't look healthy. So that's her thing. Kylie wants to be an athlete. Aubrey wants to be a chef and a runner. Or maybe she just wants to be faster than other kids. I don't know where she's at with it. But she likes running. Caleb likes running. And Chase just wants to be able to jump high. That's his thing. It's kind of basketball, but he's kind of just, I don't know what Chase is at right now with his basketball thing. You know what I'm saying? But he had a phase where it was all about the 3-point shot. He was working on his shot. Everything was important about the shot. He was watching videos on, form. And this is now just about, jumping, right? So that's the thing he's on now, his ability to jump, right? A lot of our discussion. So let me say this to you guys. With all of this information, right? You have to be able to. This was the toughest thing. Let me say this. This was the toughest thing I had to learn over the years early on. It's a lot of information when it comes to the health space. You're talking about anatomy, biochemistry, herbology, nutrition. Is a lot of different science. And the most important thing with science is that it has to be palatable. It has to be palatable. Like, people have to want it, right? People have to want it, meaning they have to be curious about a specific thing, and you have to talk to them, and you have to speak into that pocket, or it has to be entertaining, right? It has to be entertaining. It has to be action, fun. It has to be crazy. And that's kind of like one-on-one, right? If you're speaking to a wide range of people, like online, you have to kind of do a bit of all that to keep people's attention, especially for long periods of time. And when I say long periods of time, right, in each person that's listening, something different will pop into their mind, right? Because for some people, a long period of time is 30 minutes to an hour, right? For some people, long periods of time would be, yo, EnQi be going in for 3 hours, 6 hours. EnQi used to go in for 10 hours, 12, those would be considered long periods of time. From my perspective, though, it's about centuries, right? At least that's how I came in the game thinking. You know what I'm saying? Like, Dr. Sebi's long dead, but he's still discussed all around the globe, right? Imhotep has been dead for thousands of years, but he's still discussed, right? So, those might be super lofty goals. People might laugh like, EnQi is crazy, right? But if LeBron didn't come into the NBA thinking, I want to, I'm going to be better than Magic and Mike. Like, I'm going to. Now, it's arguable if he is or not, but what's not arguable is that he has scored more points than any other basketball player in the history of basketball. Period. Like, and he set that, as a goal early, and he worked towards attaining that. So, in your life, in your space, right? You're learning the information. You're investing your time, right, and your money into the information. So you want to be able to share it with your loved ones, your coworkers. I hope more than anything, you want to be able to share this with your sons, your daughters, your nephews, your nieces, the people in the the young people in the neighborhood. If you're a professional teacher or daycare person, I'm hoping that you want to instill this information. So my point in all of that is to say that the cheat code is to learn the information so well that you can package the information for your target audience, whether that target audience is 4 years old, 9 years old, 90 years old, like, and you just really have to speak to whatever people's interests are at the time, right? Speak to their interests, because we have a soul, right? We have a soul and a spirit, right? And or consciousness, whatever your belief system is, right? And then we have the flesh, the actual tangible body that we can touch, right? We have or if you're uncomfortable with consciousness, spirit, soul, there's an energy part, right? That's not touch. You can't touch the energy. It's not, you can't see it, you can't touch it, but it's there, right? It's the part that animates the physical body, right? But everything that we do happens through the physical body. So the more you learn about the physical body, the better you'll be able to structure, your conversation to anybody that you're trying to reach, right? Because every single thing that a person is interested in, they need their body to do it. Period. Like, it doesn't. It's not about sport. You know what I'm saying? It's just a person that wants to get up and go to work every day. Like, no matter what a person is trying to accomplish in this world, it has to be accomplished through their body. So what we're doing, what we're building on, it cuts through every different belief system. And make no mistake, belief systems go beyond religion, right? So, people that believe, money is everything, that's a belief system. That's a belief system. And trust me, when that person's blood pressure gets so bad, right, that they can't have a sandwich, because I get these people all the time, they can't have a sandwich without having a massive headache, and their whole day, like, so now they need stronger and stronger and stronger medication, because the small amount of sodium inside of almost anything, totally tilts the balance of their blood and their heart rate, So everything, just life is about enjoying yourself, blah, blah, blah. And people, that are really into sex and, hiking and whatever the case may be, you still need your body for that. Right? So the more you learn about how the body works, the more you can structure your conversation to make it palatable for whoever your target audience is. And honestly, your target audience is probably going to change all the time. Right? I had a brother just stop by the house. One of my good brothers, he was talking to me about something he had going on. Right? So we talked about that. And then right before he left, he said, "Oh yeah, and I want to talk to you about my mom's neck." Right? So we transition from somebody who's a contemporary of mine, right, in my age group, right, to his mother's neck. She's elderly and she's having problems, so that's what it's about, being able to change the conversation. And then after we discussed it, the conversation is always, how do I get the person, right? Like in that situation, talking about his mom, how do I get my mom to want to do this, that, or the other? We gotta address, I'm not saying psychology, but you do have to discuss a person's personal interests, like what their goals are. So we always have to be mindful of goals. Like I said, all that to say, how much talking did I just do? 17 minutes. 17 minutes of talking to say, to add some importance, hopefully, to the understanding of goals, right? Because when we discuss goals on the internet, right, it's build muscle, lose weight, or, some sort of illness, some sort of sickness, right? And so that's a very low bar. That's a low bar. I want you to be more expansive with your idea of what goals are. When you're talking to a child, or you're talking to, maybe not even a child, maybe an adult that says, the last 5 years I've been working in a warehouse, or the last 5 years I've been working in the office, you know, um, now I want to transition to working in this space, or I want to do this with myself, or, I'm getting ready to have some children, like when Michael Jordan when Michael Jordan was leaving basketball to go play baseball, he had to change his entire body. He had to change his musculature because, contrary to popular belief, in shape is not really a specific, like, it's not one thing, right? So, what it means to be in shape for basketball is not the same as what it means to be in shape for baseball. That's not what it means to be in shape for football. That's not what it means to be in shape to be a daycare teacher. That's not what it means to be in shape to be a full-time single father, right? Like, being in shape is not only a physical thing. You have to be prepared for the physicality of a thing, but you have to be prepared for the emotional toll, the mental toll, everything that comes along with the game you play, right? Even if that game is, being in the streets, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a physical, there's an emotional, and there's a mental toll on whatever it is that you're trying to do, right? So when a person uses a term like, I'm trying to get in shape, as a trainer, as a holistic healer, as a person that's just a little bit more educated, trying to advise, any in any role where you put yourself in that pocket, right? In any role where you put yourself in that pocket as offering advice to somebody else, you can't allow a blanket or generalized statement like, I'm trying to get in shape for this thing, because it's not a real thing. That's not a real thing. Getting in shape, what does that mean? I'm trying to get in shape. Get in shape for what? You trying to get in shape to work as a person that works in the supermarket ringing up groceries? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a in shape for that, right? Um, I was talking to the boys a couple of weeks ago, and they looked at me like I was crazy because I told them when I used to do security, right? Because I had all kinds of different. They laugh at me all the time when I tell them how many different things I've done for money, throughout my life. But my life is colorful. I've lived multiple damn near like multiple lifetimes, you know what I'm saying, in one life, because I started so early. I had to be an adult 9 or 10 years old, you know what I'm saying? So, um, but I was explaining to them with security, sometimes you got to stay on your feet the whole time. You could just use scissors so that it wasn't so loud. Thank you. But I was telling them, you sometimes you got to stand on your feet for 8 hours, 9 hours. Then if you trying to get that overtime, that might be another 3, 4, 5 hours, or another whole shift. So you might be standing up 16 hours. You know what I'm saying? And they was looking at me like I was crazy. I was like, it's not that hard once you get in shape for that, right? Once you get in shape for that, you just have to develop the muscles for that. It's easy. Your body is capable of a lot if you develop the muscles for that. And so, um, I don't know how we got into that conversation, but it was just an example of, I think we were talking about, you got to be kidding me. Well, figure out something else. You can't. That's crazy. But what I was saying is, I don't know how I got into that conversation with the boys, but I was explaining. I think, you know what I think I was talking to them about? I think I was talking to them about slow twitch muscle. I think I was explaining to them slow twitch versus fast twitch muscle and how the body is designed to moderate energy, right? Because fast twitch muscle is for fast, explosive, movements, powerful movements. But your life is not designed for you to stay in that pocket all the time, right? So typically, the way your body's designed, the muscles that you use most of the time, like all the time muscles, the muscles that are required for you to like stand and, those things are, those areas of the body are comprised of mostly slow twitch muscle, right? So like you will hear trainers and most of them don't really go any further. They don't go into the biochemistry side of, but they know what they're talking about. They know their stuff, right? They'll tell you, they may say, well, you can work out your calves or your abs, to some extent. You can work them out every day or every other day, depending on the condition of your body. You can work them out all the time. Whereas, your chest, your back, you may only want to hit those, once or twice a week. Your legs, you may only want to do a heavy leg day like twice a month, right? Maybe 3 times a month, tops, right? If you think to yourself, if you have a heavy leg day, right, it'll take you a good bit of time to recover from that, right? But it's designed based on how you supposed, how your energy distribution, right? So slow twitch muscle, right? You're going to use these muscles all the time, right? And I just use calf for example, right? These are the muscles that are most frequently used. So the percentage of the group that we know of as the calf muscle, because you have your main muscles and your stabilizers or secondary and tertiary muscles, primarily going to use sugar and oxidative, oxygen, breathing, respiration, right? So anyway, I think that's how I got into the conversation with them about standing, right? But that's what in shape means. In shape means being able to handle whatever the workload is that you got going on in your life. It's not a generalized thing where you can look at what somebody else got going on, because some of the most, if you go online, right? If you go online, the primary example, if you was to take the top man and the top woman, right, from your favorite sports across the board, right? The top, the number 1 and number 2, like the best, all of their bodies will look different, right? If you take the number 1 bodybuilder, man and woman, and you line them up next to the number 1 NBA player and, man and woman, and then you line them up against the number 1 baseball players, you line them up against the number 1 volleyball players, the number 1 soccer players, the number one boxers, like all of their bodies would look drastically different. Drastically different, right? But these are the highest or best performing people in their space because they've designed their bodies specifically for their space, right? So that's one level to it, right? Now, the second level to it is if you go within that space, right? So if we compare bodybuilders to basketball players, to football players, to boxers, to baseball, to volleyball, to soccer, to this, that, and the other, right? They all look totally different. Now, if we go within the space, right? If we go into bodybuilding, you would see that the bodybuilders look drastically different amongst one another. If we go into basketball, you'll see the basketball players look drastically different amongst one another, right? You have LeBron, who, you might put LeBron in a similar bucket with maybe Shaquille O'Neal and Karl Malone, right? Then you have the Kevin Durant's, and you might put a Kevin Durant body type in a similar bucket with maybe a Kevin Garnett and a Wembanyama, these tall, lanky guys, Then you have maybe Steph Curry's, Allen Iverson. Actually, you can't even put them together. Steph Curry might have a similar body type to Kyrie, but Allen Iverson may have a similar body type to like Derrick Rose, right? So even within the sports, now you see the difference. Why? Genetics, right? So there's genetics. You got to work with what you have, right? You got to work with what you got. And then you got to take what you got and you got to hone it and craft it based on whatever your life is going to be, right? The pressures, the daily load, and that's what longevity really is. Think about it. Longevity is being able to survive and then thrive your life, right? Your life, not somebody else's. So the goals are specific to each person, and interests is specific to each person, right? Interest is specific to each person, right? So you got to be able to gauge, so here, we get to the science, we get to the to the nooks and crannies, to the nuts and bolts. We get to the get down, you know. But, as people are having more questions about the generational health series, because they're buying the books and they're like, oh, these books got big words. So much of the book is the vocabulary. And then we notice that the fifth book, or the teacher version, right? Because there's 4 books, and then there's the 5th book, which is like the teacher. It's kind of like the answer, the teacher edition. Like when you was in school, the students have textbooks, and then teacher has a textbook that's totally different. It's kind of like that, right?
We getting seed money. Woo. Woo. We need seed money. That's that seed money. We need that.
Introduction. These books are...
Introduction? Yeah, but introduction to what? What is this? You're just introductioning up to people. All right, so this is the first book of the Generational Health series, right? This is the first book. It's called what? What's the title of this book?
Atoms of Self-Development.
Atoms of Self-Development. Atoms of Self-Development. Come on, you can't be shy. You gotta say it like you when. Okay, look, just think that nobody's looking. Just come on, just say it out loud, lady. All right, so now we ready for you to bust out the introduction. Now we know what you introducing us to. Now you can,
Introduction. These books are to be read as a family to create this.
Don't rush, hold up. You gotta slow it down. Relax. Come on, look. Yep, in your nose, out your mouth. Come on. Come on, lady. All right, now that you're relaxed, everybody, you got your vibe.
These books are to be read as a family to create discussions, group learning, group sharing. This is how we build generational health, learning and teaching as a family. Chemistry.
Hold up. You can't listen. You can't just fly through it, okay? It's going to be a lot of people in the YouTube world, like 100 people. They all going to be watching, right? You can't just go fast. You got to relax. So do you wanna say peace or anything to the people out there? Tell them to go get the books.
Go get my dad's books. They're pretty good.
I want you to be able to better use and better understand that series, because that's a wicked tool set right there. You just gotta know how to use. If you don't know how to use a tool, then you can't get much utility out of it. But if you learn how to use the tool, it could be life-changing, right? Like a hammer and a screwdriver, right? Trying to build glass, right? Trying to build glass, you might have the wrong tool. You know what I'm saying? You might need a torch and a so I just want to fine tune the way we're able to use our library, right? Because we have a library now, right? And so we got to be able to address the issues with the science. We got to be able to speak and understand at a certain level, right? Which is why we have the body language book somewhere floating around here, right? We have the body language book. But we have to be able to translate, right? We got to be able to translate and, gauge the understanding of our audience and speak there, and then speak to the goals and what people are trying to do and blah, 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 blah. Right? Unless you speak into a bunch of people in a lecture setting or on an online setting, and then you have to try to capture everybody, speak to your specific, whatever you're focusing in on, or try to pull in the majority of the audience, right? Now, you got to understand how the books are all interconnected, because it's one series of research. So, there's one way to approach it where you can start at book one and then go forward, but you really don't have to. You can really start with what catches your attention. And from that, the book itself will lead you to other books. Peace and blessings out there to everybody. My name is Dr. EnQi, the founder of the Melanin versus Diabetes movement and ministry. Our goal is to fight diabetes by creating a biochemically literate society, one book at a time, one person at a time, one household at a time. Join us now by going to Amazon.com and getting all of the books, getting all of the books that you can afford, even if you can't read them all. Share them with family, share them with loved ones. Let's begin the study. And if you need tutoring sessions are available at AmericanHealer.website. I can give you one-on-one tutoring through these books. Let's build a biochemically literate society, one person at a time. Okay. All right, so case in point, right? Case in point. The algorithm book. The algorithm book looks magical. The algorithm book looks magical. That's crazy. That's kind of crazy. Right? That is kind of crazy right there. It's a little trippy because the book is white. It's not green. Like this, you would think in your mind, oh yeah, that's green screen technology, but this book's not green. That's what makes it crazy. So it is having a green screen effect, but it's not green. That's wild. But if we go to page 212, right? Because the other day when me and the boys was out there, we was working. Actually, not 212. Yeah, we could start at 212 and maybe work backwards. In 1926, Raymond Pearl proposed that longevity varies inversely with basal metabolic rate. Right? So, was it Friday night's video? It might have been Friday night's video. I think it was Friday night's video where we were talking about the different theories of aging, right? And how they're outdated or slowly but surely becoming outdated, and the world is basically adopting our research. So we can't let up off the gas. We can't let up off the gas with the support, right? I need y'all on the Patreon, the Cash Apps, the website, the book. Like, we can't let up off the gas with the support. But not just so that I don't go homeless and hungry. But because everything we do is impactful. Everything we do is impactful, right? Primary example. I did the video, going back and forth with Zip and 10 Toes and Woo. And guess what? Yesterday, Zip posted a video about fatherhood. Single fathers struggling to get their kids and blah, blah, blah. So everything we do is very impactful. And he has thousands and thousands of followers. And these are our cousins, brothers, uncles. So you can't judge a book by its cover. You know what I'm saying? You can't judge a book by its cover. Right? But we were talking about longevity, right? And we were talking about the different theories of longevity and how the world is slowly moving towards what we're doing. Melanin versus diabetes specifically, right? I told y'all this when I put out that video And I told you, Jack Cruz, what's his name? Jack Cruz, Andrew Huberman, and the other guy. I forgot who the other guy was. The rap guy. From Def Jam, the rap guy. Anyway, they were stealing the drip. Now here you go, fast forward, another year goes by, and now it's more mainstream. It's getting spread. So now they have new terminologies, the ferroptosis and inflammaging and all of these different new concepts, which are basically is us having a butterfly effect, right? Because we have to realize we live in an age of influencers. So it's not about getting 1 million people or 1 billion people even to say, oh, I follow this and that. No. When you're a thought leader, right, you're going to impact, a certain number of people. And those people may impact the masses, right? So don't think that what we're doing is not changing the world, because it is. Like, it's crazy right now how fast people are gravitating towards what it is that we're doing, of all walks of life, from the highest level of specialized health professionals, neurosurgeons and dermatology folks, and immunologists and biochemists, all the way down to brothers right on straight off the block, right? Straight off the block. Because that's me. Well, not, in another life, right? But that's me. So we're impacting everybody, right? And longevity, health, mental health, emotional health, that impacts everybody. It's not we don't have a secular or a thing that only applies to a few people. What we talk about applies to everybody: white, black, red, yellow, Christian, Buddhist, rich person, poor person, male, female, I don't identify as those pronouns, all that, if you're alive. If you're alive, right? Even if you walk on, like, even your cat, your dog, like your goldfish, your turtle, if you're alive, right? So the longevity concepts, right? The longevity concepts, because you got to understand science is a work in progress, right? The problem is when people try to get dogmatic and pragmatic about things that are just well-oiled theories, right? Well-oiled theories. Once you take it outside of that, then you lose the ability to be flexible, right? It's cool to operate inside the current paradigm, but if you lose perspective and think that, oh, this is it, you're going to lose the ability to be flexible, right? And so, I can't stress enough the importance of them just finding 3,000 new types of neurons. Like, what? Even three, forget 3,000, just 3 new types of neurons completely changes the fabric of your brain. So, like when I had a debate with a sister, when I was debating Nepal, maybe a month or two ago, she pulled up an article, and the article was was well sourced, but it was out of date, right? It was out of date. And that happens in the health space a lot now because new findings completely change how we have to view. So if we're taking if we're looking at the brain and they just discovered 3,000 new neurons, you have to take anything that associated with the brain, neurons, nerve tissue, grain of salt, right? Work in progress. This is why when I postulate that within the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to be accepted, our theory, right, that either neurons are specialized melanocytes or the inverse, right, that melanocytes are specialized neuron. It's going to happen because clearly we don't even fully understand neurons, right? We don't understand. In fact, we would be able to change the rate that our nerves recover. Right now, we stuck working with the body. You know, the body, if you get nerve damage, the reason why doctors will tell you that, you know, it's not repairable, right, is because nerves take 15 years, 10 years, 20 years, you know what I'm saying? So in the health space, the way it works is they just say that's not, you know, like if a person survives a cancer treatment, right? They go through chemo, the chemo kills all the cancer. If that person survives 3 to 5 years, that's considered a successful, right? If the cancer comes back in 6 years and kills them, the chemo and everything was still considered a successful cure because it got rid of the cancer for 3 to 5 years, right? So everything is time sensitive, right? So all that said to say, right, when we look at these concepts of longevity, longevity is built with two foundational pieces that you have to always consider. A, what's your genetics? And then B, what is it that you're going to be enduring for, you know, if we want to live 100 years, what were you born into? Right? What were you born into? What are you educating yourself into? What are you educating yourself out of? Right? What is your life going to be like? What is it that you're going to have to endure? Because you're going to have to, in real time, right? You got to build yourself up for that, right? So when I worked at when I worked at a flower warehouse in Atlanta doing security, right? 7 days a week from 12 at night to 7 in the morning, right? I had to exercise a certain way and I had to eat a certain way for that because I still had to be a dad throughout the day. So it's not like I could come home and sleep. I still got babies and other things, and I want to hit the gym and I want to do this and that and the other. I have to eat to sustain that, right? But I also have to realize that I'm not sleeping at night. So I have to pay more attention to my immune system because if you don't sleep at night, your immune system suffers, right? So I got to compensate for that, right? Even though I'm not around a lot of people, which was a good thing, right? The less people you're exposed to, right? That's it, much less of a toll on your immune system, right? If you have children and your children go to public school, you'll know what I'm talking about. Or if you work in a public school system, or if you work in a place where you interface with a lot of people, Viruses just jump person to person to person like nobody's business. So that's an extra thing that you got to prepare your body for, right? That's an extra thing that you have to prepare for, right? This is why, a lot of athletes, in order to make sure they can perform at their best, they secluded. They're secluded. A large part of their safety is not their safety. Because, there's not snipers trying to like snipe, Klay Thompson before a game. Like that's a lot of their safety is making sure that they're healthy, making sure the investment in the player is safe. That's what player safety is. So that's why they travel on the planes together, on the buses together. You know what I'm saying? They got money. They could big, some of them, they could big Willie and be like, yeah, I'll meet y'all at the next state. Like that's, no, you're not, no. You getting ready to travel with the team. We getting ready to book the hotel. Everybody's getting ready to be in this hotel. Everything is going to be, it's going to be very little branching off and all that, because the more you mix with outside people, the more possibility is that something can happen to you in terms of your health, right? And because that's not completely understood, we got to take these precautions. So the thing with longevity is,
We getting seed money. We need seed money. That's that seed money. We need that.
Introduction. These books are...
Introduction? Yeah, but introduction to what? What is this? You're just introductioning up to people. All right, so this is the first book of the Generational Health series, right? This is the first book. It's called what? What's the title of this book?
Atoms of Self-Development.
Atoms of Self-Development. Atoms of Self-Development. Come on, you can't be shy. You got to say it like you, when, okay, look, just think that nobody's looking. Just, come on, just say it out loud, lady. All right, so now we ready for you to bust out the introduction. Now we know what you introducing us to. Now you can,
Introduction. These books are to be read as a family to create this.
Don't rush, hold up. You got to slow it down. Relax. Come on, look. Yep, in your nose, out your mouth. Come on. Come on, lady. All right, now that you're relaxed, everybody, you got your vibe.
These books are to be read as a family to create discussions, group learning, group sharing. This is how we build generational health, learning and teaching as a family. Chemistry.
Hold up. You can't listen. You can't just fly through it, okay? It's going to be a lot of people in the YouTube world, like 100 people. They all going to be watching, right? You can't just go fast. You got to relax. So do you want to say peace or anything to the people out there? Tell them to go get the books.
Go get my dad's books. They're pretty good.
As science works, you get a theory, you throw it up against the wall, and until that theory is disproved, that's what the theory is, right? That's what it is. So in the books, we kind of, touch on some of these different things so we can get the working understanding, right? So now you go to the algorithm book on page 212, right? heartbeat hypothesis. In 926, Raymond Pearl proposed that longevity varies inversely with basal metabolic rate, right? Varies inversely, meaning the higher or faster your metabolic rate, the shorter or smaller your lifespan will be, right? And so we've kind of heard that concept. That's more like a scientist. So now they will credit, obviously, Raymond Pearl with that in 1926, but that's old, right? That's old. If you know anything about martial arts, that's been around since before Damo's time. That's been around since before Damo's time, where even you get into the philosophy surrounding like certain Kemetic practices and Oriental practices where they equate lifespan to breathing, right? Your respiration is tied to your metabolic rate. So, Raymond Pearl, they can scientifically say in 1926 Raymond Pearl, but that concept has been around for thousands and thousands of years, right? And it's a large part of the reason why diabetes is so dangerous. That's why we have that's one of the things that we address in one of my favorites, right? Osiris, diabetes, and respiration, right? Osiris, diabetes, and respiration, right? And we talk about how your metabolism has to stay coupled to your respiratory rate, right? Because when you're breaking down glucose, you're breaking down fat for energy, you have to get rid of that carbon. You get rid of the carbon by coupling each carbon to two oxygens, make CO2. You breathe, you get. When you start to break down glucose and fat faster than you can get it out of your body, your lactic acid builds up fast in your body, lactose, right? And there's a space where your body, your fast twitch muscles specifically, can harness that process for energy. But outside of that, that's death, right? That's death. That's what leads to all metabolic diseases, right? The uncoupling of your metabolism from your respiration. This is why when you think of metabolism, right, especially nowadays, when you think of metabolism, you think of mitochondria, right? Yeah, your mitochondria is what, blah, 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 blah. Cool. Don't forget that there's multiple. So here's one of the things that sometimes confuse people when it comes to the anatomy or you're dealing with the body. Certain area, you have multiple names sometimes for the same thing. So in the same way as you have cytochromes, right? That's a name, right, for the stations of the electron transport chain. But those are also called respiratory proteins. And so sometimes you may hear respiratory proteins, and if you don't know that that is the same as the cytochrome 1, cytochrome 2, cytochrome 3, within reason, those are the same, interchangeable, you don't get the connection, right? But at the heart of metabolism is your respiratory proteins, right? For a reason, respiration and metabolism have to stay coupled, right? And the pulmonary membrane, which is the the layer of skin that separates, I ain't gonna say separates, because you have the lung tissue and then you have the blood vessel. But when you combine that top layer of blood vessel with that lung tissue, that's kind of what your pulmonary membrane is. And that's how gas, or oxygen more specifically, diffuses through your lungs into the blood. The thicker that tissue gets, the less oxygen can make it into your blood, right? The less oxygen can make it into your blood. So now there's, trying to think of how to explain. So as technology goes by, right? As technology goes by, we get to have deeper understanding, right? More knowledge increases our ability to understand, right? It increases our ability to build, within the framework of culture, meaning it's one thing to have, knowledge or ideas or information, but it's another thing to be able to take that information, that data, and convert that into stuff that's usable for everyday people, right? When it becomes usable for everyday people, that's culture, right? That's real power right there, right? So there's one point in history where, with what's available, basically our eyes and our tools, rudimentary tools, we know that the breath is related to aging, right? We know that, but we may not be able to examine, right? We may not yet at that point, 3000 BC, right? We may not be able to examine the pulmonary membrane with the same accuracy as we can today, right? We may not be able to reference the gradual thickening of the pulmonary membrane with the gradual uncoupling of respiration and metabolism, right? With maybe the percentage of our lungs that we use in order to breathe, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Doc, what you talking about? In the martial arts space, one of the things you have to learn, this is why I was saying martial arts has devolved with the evolution of mixed martial arts and the UFC and all of that kind of stuff. That has largely destroyed the true essence of martial arts. Martial arts was for longevity, right? So now it's just about who can knock, I can knock this person out and make a few dollars, you know what I'm saying? So, but you had to learn how to breathe. And every human is born breathing. So in the abstract sense, that doesn't make any sense. We mean you got to learn how to breathe. You have to learn how to breathe. There are different ways that you can breathe, right? And some are more efficient than others, especially depending on what you like. There's a guy right now on the internet that learned how to, that's teaching people how to hold their breath for 4 minutes and 6 minutes and all kind of foolishness, right? So there's what we take for granted is, that's where the true value in life is, you know what I'm saying? But in the martial space, you learn how to fill up your entire lungs, and get the most out of each breath, right? Now, at one point, that's just oxygen, as we have unraveled it, right? Now you get into the health space, the sports, athletics, etc. They talk to you about nitric oxide, right? Nitric oxide in the blood, right? Nitric oxide in the blood, circulation, oxygenation. There's one space in time where nitrogen is just viewed as a complete poison, period. Then inert, right? So it's at one point, something that'll kill you. We get a little bit more information. Oh, it's just an inert. It's inert. You know, it doesn't pass your lungs. It's a non. You don't have to learn about this. In our research, nitrogen is everything, right? Nitrogen is everything because nitrogen is what the inert nitrogen, right? Did you? No. You don't have to worry about that. You need to worry about that, right? It's the thing that keeps the pressure in the lungs. Without lung pressure, right, you don't have oxygen diffusing into the blood. So nitrogen is inert in terms of it doesn't translate to the blood because the molecules or the atoms are too big to make it through the pulmonary membrane, but it holds the pressure. Like when you blow up a balloon, the gas holds, that's what's happening to your lungs, and your lungs must maintain pressure in order for them to work, right? Your lungs lose pressure, right? They collapse, you're in trouble, right? But so you have nitric oxide in circulation, you have nitrogen in and of itself, maintaining volume pressure. You have nitric oxide also in your nose that works with vitamin D to produce, what are these things called? Cathelicidins. Yeah, cathelicidins, which are a part of your immune system. But if you don't have adequate amount of vitamin D, you don't have this part. But so this is one of those threshold things. You have high levels of vitamin D, and then you produce nitrogen oxide because you breathe through your nose. You have a whole nother aspect of your immune system that comes online that may not be online for everybody. So different people will have different rates of dealing with respiratory infections, right? Hint, hint, wink, wink, right? So respiratory infections that may be floating around, again, hint, hint, wink, wink. Breathing through your nose and having high levels of vitamin D may bring a different part of your immune system on that blocks, to a large extent, those respiratory infections, right? Cathelicidins. Let's pull it up. See, I'm supposed to be outside right now with the old folks doing laps. Now, the young folks should be out there doing laps early in the morning, but they still think they're invincible, so it's not important for them. But I'll be out there with my young folks, right? But these are what I'm talking about right here. So high levels of vitamin D plus nitric oxide, you get a whole nother aspect of your immune system to come on. Now, all this stuff play a role, right? All this stuff plays a role in longevity, right? All of these things play a role in longevity, right? So anyway, Raymond Pearl proposed that longevity varies inversely with basal metabolic rate. Support for this hypothesis comes from, now mind you, we're on page 212 in the algorithm book. Support for this hypothesis comes from the fact that mammals with larger body size have longer maximum lifespans. Large animals do have total metabolic rates, but the metabolic rate at the cellular level is much lower, and the breathing rate and heart rate are slower in larger animals. And the fact that the longevity of fruit flies varies inversely with ambient temperature. Additionally, the lifespan of houseflies, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Calorie restriction and reduced thyroid hormone levels, both of which decrease the metabolic rate, have been associated with higher longevity in animals. All right. Calorie restriction. Right. Now, calorie restriction has been also further refined, right? Further research, better tools, better understanding. So initially, again, this goes back thousands of years. We've heard the miracles associated with fasting, right? The miracles associated with fasting are so profound that all of your major religions have a prolonged period of fasting as a part of what the program is. Peace and blessings out there to everybody. My name is Dr. EnQi, the founder of the Melanin versus Diabetes movement and ministry. Our goal is to fight diabetes by creating a biochemically literate society, one book at a time, one person at a time, one household at a time. It ain't no fun when a rabbit got the gun, you heard? Faith and love, love and faith, faith and love, love. Some of y'all getting hip figuring out my program. Whenever I got to say something to the babies, boop. After these messages will be. So anyway, so we learned more about calorie restriction, right? Back in the days, fasting showed great benefit, blah, 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 but now it's specific. So this is why the founder of the 40-day fruit fast, right? The founder of the 40-day fruit fast, if you ask me about dry fasting, I'm not, and this may seem contradictory or controversial even, but I'm not a supporter of dry fasting past 2 or 3 days, right? And even that only in specific instances, because your body has a demand for specific nutrients every single day. And you have a cellular turnover. It's important. You have a cellular turnover. Different cells have to be replaced at different speeds, right? Some cells need to be replaced within hours or days. Some cells, like nerves or neurons, it takes decades for them to turn over. Now, if we go into the EnQi is the Soul of Osiris book, right? And we go to my favorite chapter in the book, which I believe is chapter 19, 277. I think this is the chapter. Yes, Blue Magic 101. Right? Blue Magic 101. What is blue magic? Blue magic is water masonry. The cell is the most advanced builder on earth. The title master builder could only be donned by a builder that builds itself and repairs itself while in motion on the job. I'm reading directly out of the book. right? Page 277. The title master builder can only be done by a builder that builds itself and repairs itself while in motion on the job. Right? Then I give the analogy. What if you saw a car doing 65 miles an hour on the freeway with its hood up? The car's doing 65 miles an hour on the freeway, hood up, with a mechanic doing a tune-up or changing a tire at 65 miles an hour. Your cells do that around the clock. What if this car going 65 miles an hour is on a flat tire? What if it doesn't even have a spare tire, right? What if it doesn't even have nuts, tools, bolts, whatever that thing is that you use to take the tire off? Like, what if it doesn't have? Your cell literally does all of that. Meaning, as we talk about the reason why I'm not a fan of extended dry fast or people going on water fast, right? Is because every day, I'm going to be repetitive so it sticks. Your body has to replace cells, right? Every day, your body replaces probably about 50 billion cells. On average, 50 billion cells die, right? They get broken down, and your body has to replace 50 billion cells, right? That's just cells. That's not including all of the subcellular parts, like all of the stuff that is inside the cell that needs to be rebuilt and replaced, right? So there's a point where if you go on a fast for a couple days, right? A dry fast or a water fast, or your body has stored nutrients, give or take, depending on what we're talking about, more so fat soluble stuff and minerals than water soluble vitamins. But and your body can recycle some proteins, and so there's some things your body can do and some protocols that are initiated, the most important being autophagy, right? Which works to your benefit in the short-term health space, right? But it's just like having a savings account, like having a checking account and a savings account, or having, your kitchen, you got your refrigerator and your cabinets. And then some people even buy deep freezers. And then they'll also have a pantry, right? They'll have deep freezers and a pantry. A pantry is an extra closet of food that you fill up after all your cabinets are filled up. So once you fill up all your cabinets, then you have a pantry, which is like an extra closet of food, right? If you stop shopping, it's only a certain amount of time before you eat everything in those cabinets. Then you got to start going in the pantry. And then it's only a certain amount of time before, if you still aren't shopping, you're going to run through whatever's in the pantry. That's about 48 to 72 hours in your body, right? After about 72 hours, the pantry's empty. And now you're going to start to hurt yourself by not putting back in certain, especially B vitamins. Like B vitamins, B vitamins and fiber. I don't know. I would have to probably do
B vitamins, I know you shouldn't go past 24 hours without B vitamins. Period. Yeah. So you on thin ice. You need your B vitamin. You need B vitamins, in my estimation, every 8 hours. Period. You know what I'm saying? At least twice a day, though. You past 72 hours, you wilding, right? So anyway, what we go into in this chapter, the 19th chapter in this book, is how the cell builds out all of those structures that it needs, the enzymes, the peptides, the proteins, and recycling things to keep, because we might take for granted that the Golgi apparatus or the endoplasmic reticulum or the nucleus or just any of these things that's inside a cell, like they like stainless steel or these shits last forever. They don't, you know what I'm saying? They constantly need to be fixed, repaired, replaced, right? So this is why the founder of the 40-day fruit fast does not, I'm not a fan of extended dry fast or water fast. The 40-day fruit fast is a gradual stepping down of, eating how we normally eat with a lot of processed food and starches and those things, gradually going down to where, it's just grains, vegetables, fruit, protein, like a gradual return just to the fruit of the earth, right? Not just fruit, but the fruit of the earth, your seeds, your grains, your veggies, your fruits, your plants, and staying there, right? Not starving the body, but staying there, just strictly returning back to eating the fruits of the earth in their closest to natural form that we could consume them in, right? In the closest to natural form we could consume them in, right? Because I get into a lot of conversation about, well, no, I'm eating vegetarian, I'm eating vegan because I'm, relax. 90% of vegan food is highly processed today, right? Highly processed. I don't know what makes y'all think that turning, like, I don't know how you think that is not if you turn a mushroom into chicken or into, like, it's a lot of processing that goes on. So it's not the same, right? Not to take away from it, you know what I'm saying? Because I eat all over the place. Me and my children, we all over with it. But sometimes you just got to return back to the blueprint to reset. This is like, the old school Nintendo. When the games start getting crazy, you take the cartridge out, you blow the cartridge, you put it back in there, hit the reset, you Gucci, right? Your body needs that reset sometimes. And I think that the old Nintendo, was it on 64-bit? No, it might have been 32-bit. That's a good trivia question. Was Nintendo 64-bit? No, I think the original Nintendos were not 64-bit, because now when I think about it, they did come out with a Nintendo 64, which was like the second or third upgrade on Nintendo. So clearly the first ones were 16 or 32, I believe. Anyway, your body needs that reset sometime, but the reset is not to starve the body. The reset is not the complete absence of all sustenance. The reset is just to go back to basics, back to the blueprint, right? So calorie restriction does not necessarily mean not eating. With further study, now we know calorie restriction is the benefits of calorie restriction is actually just avoiding certain types of amino acids, right? And this is why in the I don't know which one it is. It's either the orthorexia book or the autodidact book, one of these two books, that we talk about redesigning. We talk about redesigning what a complete protein source is, right? Because as you learn more, right? That may be today's bullet for the day. That might be today's running theme. Is as we learn more, science changes, right? Because we learned initially about your body, you need 20 amino acids, right? This is the early science. Then we also learned, right, within those amino acids, you didn't need all of them because some of them your body could make. So you only had 8 or 9 essential amino acids. The rest your body can handle on its own, right? Fast forward, we're learning that, well, it's not 20 aminos, because now we have the seleno family of enzymes and proteins that are becoming more than essential, right? So now you got 21 or 22, right? But then when we look at what a complete protein is, and I'm sure that we are the first organization to actually examine it and put together a new version. Hello, y'all better not forget me. We got some fresh hand-picked blueberries. Oh my goodness. Yo, we got some fresh hand-picked farmers market Michigan blueberries. Mm-mm. It just do something crazy for the oatmeal. It do something crazy for the oatmeal. You can't even taste that the blue magic is mixed in, because the blue magic got a strong taste. The blue magic got a strong taste. But when you put these, oh my goodness, these blueberries. I must have had like half a cart, half a little, damn near half a pint yesterday in mine. Blueberries do something crazy in the open. Anyway, but I think they're trying to violate me because I'm on the live stream. So that's why I gotta, let them know don't try to violate me. Right. But anyway, so I think we're the first organization to actually redesign that concept in terms of what a complete protein is. Right. Because that's the idea of complete proteins. And that's one of the things that vegans, non-vegan, plant-based, meat eating, like that's one of the big points of contention. Complete proteins, right? So the understanding of lysine that we have now, the understanding of branched chain amino acids that we have now, their impact on health, cancer, longevity, blah, 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 blah. once we factor all those things in, it's we have more information. So now the science has to change in terms of what we thought of was a complete protein source, right? So now calorie restriction doesn't necessarily mean what at one time we thought, right? So now we know calorie restriction pertains mostly to, limiting these branch chain amino acids, limiting mTOR activation, and then that's the protein side of calorie restriction, right? Fats and carbohydrates, well, again, in the same book, the algorithm book, right? We created what's called the carb max number, right? And part of the reason why we created the number is because in the longevity space, they talk about calorie restriction, but when you look up calorie restriction, you only going to get the conversation surrounding, mTOR, branch chain amino acids, leucine versus lysine, and blah, 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 blah. You're only going to get a protein conversation. But calories, proteins, fats, carbs, so they don't really address the carbs and the fats. So carb max number, Caleb. Peace and blessings out there to everybody. My name is Dr. EnQi, the founder of the Melanin versus Diabetes movement and ministry. Our goal is to fight diabetes by creating a biochemically literate society, one book at a time, one person at a time.
We getting seed money. Woo. Woo. We need seed money. That's that seed money. We need that.
Introduction. These books are...
Introduction? Yeah, but introduction to what? What is this? You're just introductioning up to people. All right, so this is the first book of the Generational Health series, right? This is the first book. It's called what? What's the title of this book?
Atoms of Self-Development.
Atoms of Self-Development. Atoms of Self-Development. Come on, you can't be shy. You gotta say it like okay, look, just think that nobody's looking. Just come on, just say it out loud, lady. All right, so now we're ready for you to bust out the introduction. Now we know what you introducing us to. Now you can,
Introduction. These books are to be read as a family to create this.
Don't rush on up. You got to slow it down. Relax. Come on, look. Yeah, in your nose, out your mouth. Come on. Come on, lady. All right, now that you're relaxed, everybody, you got your vibe.
These books are to be read as a family to create discussions, group learning, group sharing. This is how we build generational health, learning and teaching as a family. Chemistry.
Hold up. You can't listen. You can't just fly through it, okay? It's going to be a lot of people in the YouTube world, like 100 people. They all going to be watching, right? You can't just go fast. You got to relax. So do you want to say peace or anything to the people out there? Tell them to go get the books.
Go get my dad's books. They're pretty good.
So carbs are not really addressed, right? Carbs are not really addressed. And the whole idea with carbohydrates is obviously you want to be on the nutritious side of the carbs, right? You don't want to have Oreo cookies and cakes for, cheese doodles, but for carbohydrate. But in the calorie restriction space, the thing that's most important is keeping your activity tied to your carbohydrate intake, meaning eating what you're going to burn. Remembering that your carbs are supposed to fuel your activity. Carbs are supposed to fuel your activity, period. Activity doesn't only mean physical activity, but it's also emotional and it's also mental, right? So you might be an athlete, so you got to pay particular attention to carbon up for whatever your sport is. You might be a single parent, right? So you might not be getting ready to do a triathlon, but you might be getting ready to wrestle 24 hours with some children. Right? So you got to be ready for that. And it never gets old. The older the children get, the crazier the things that you may have to deal with in any given day are. Right? And then when you become a grandparent, it just doubles and triples because the children never stop acting like even acting like a child. Even though they get older and they want to be respected differently, they still want to be able to call you at any moment with the wildest story and emergency, and you come to the rescue to some extent, right? So you got to be prepared emotionally for whatever it is you got to deal with, right? Then if you are in the mental space, right, you got to be prepared to work your brain, work your mind, work your spine, work your heart. Like you got to be, working the mental. It's heavy because it's not just the brain. As we're learning that the brain is regulated by the heart, right? As we're learning that the brain collects majority of its information through the spine, right? So the skin, all of these things are a part of you working your brain. You know what I'm saying? So if you're a student or a scholar or a teacher, you got to be, so just whatever it is that you're going to use, fine tune it to that, right? So that you have enough energy to do what you need to do, get done what you need to get done. Nothing more though. Once you go into excess, then we go over to fat, right? Fat's more complicated because fat's more misunderstood because you have, essential fatty acids, and then you have, I don't know, butter, right? Margarine, you know what I'm saying? Like you have fats and oils and things. And really the only difference between a fat and an oil is being solid or liquid at room temperature, right? So fats and oils are kind of the same thing, right? Just one is solid at room temperature, so it's considered a fat. If it's liquid at room temperature, it's an oil, right? Typically, oils are going to have I'm not going to say a more beneficial effect, but I'm going to say they have a less detrimental effect, right? Being liquid at room temperature, your body can handle them in many cases better, but you need fatty acids, right? You need fatty acids, and fat is very important for your brain and for your nerves all throughout the body, right? And not even just your brain. I mean, exceptionally important for those things, but every cell that you have the cell membrane is largely made out of fat. So you got to think about it. If your body has to turn over 50 billion cells a day, that means you need fat for 50 billion cells a day. So you need some degree of fat. So that's why I'm saying starving yourself for multiple, like for long periods of time is never a good thing, because your body needs, right? It needs. And then people go on water fast and don't realize that some of this stuff just be asinine. Like it just be crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like you going on a water fast, forgetting that your body need fiber to hydrate. So most of the water you drinking, you just peeing out. Or you might be going to a point where you poop, like you diarrhea, and you having liquidy stools, and you thinking in your mind you having a liquidy stool because you detoxing or some complicated slick shit. And no, it's just the water's coming out because your body can't absorb it because you're not having no fiber. So it's coming, you drinking it and it's coming right back out the other end. Right. So, even a water fast doesn't make sense without some degree of fiber. Right. Because again, it's fiber that allows your body to hydrate at a high level. Right. You need the fiber. Right. And then there's a whole nother level where science hasn't even really gotten, into the weeds yet with the microbiome, right? You fasting for days and days and days, you're going into a week of fasting or more, like you're starving the microbiome. You start starving the microbiome. So quickly, when it comes to the microbiome, right? There's a space where peace and blessings out there to everybody. My name is Dr. EnQi, the founder of the Melanin versus Diabetes movement and ministry. Our goal is to fight diabetes. So there's a space with the microbiome where you had the good bacteria, bad bacteria, right? Good bacteria, bad bacteria. Then again, we got more information, right? With more information, we learned that line between good and bad bacteria is real blurry. What we actually have is bacteria. There's no good and bad bacteria because the bacteria is not really thinking about us like that. Their activities are like humans, right? So if you have a population of bacteria that have what they need, right? That have what they need to function and operate, and they're working efficiently, you have good bacteria. You have a good bacteria population. If you have a starved bacteria population, then you have a bad bacteria population, and it's going to be up, right? It's going to be up, right? You're going to have all kinds of problems. Things won't be metabolized properly. Vitamins won't be produced. Like all kinds of different things are going to go wrong because there's a lot of things in our body they're responsible for that won't be getting done, right? Because, they're not taken care of properly. So starving your microbiome is not a good idea. And they also need fiber, right? And where do we get fiber from? We get fiber only from plant material. Fiber doesn't come from dairy products. It doesn't come from meat or animals. Fiber only comes from plants, right? So you need that. You need 10,000 micrograms a day of certain types of vitamin A for your eyes. So you're going on an extended fast means that you're not getting that 10,000 micrograms a day, but you still gonna work. You still gonna watch TV. You still gonna watch a movie. You still gonna get on your computer screen. You still gonna be on your cell phone screen. Like you're still going to be outside in the sunlight. Like so, you're still going to bombard your eyes with light, but you're not gonna have what's required in there to protect them, because you done seen some online guru said that, yeah, oh yeah, I'm fasting and Swami such and such. Like, nah, nigga. We've been studying Dr. EnQi, right? I got this book called Look, you can't even see the book. You could just see me at the bottom. Maybe that should be the book. Hymnistry, right? We got this book from the Chemiluminescent College called Orthorexia by Dr. EnQi. And in that book, EnQi says, right, in the Skintology books, right, that's how we do it. So we don't even have to address the autodidact book or the orthorexia book. We just say in the Skintology books, Dr. EnQi says, A, we need X amount of vitamin A every single day, or we're slow suicide. And to take it a step further, those same pigments from our eyes that need protection from vitamin A, that we need 10,000 micrograms. So you could basically say each eye needs 5,000 micrograms of these specific types of vitamin A, right? Think about how small your eye is compared to your skin. How much do I need for my skin? How much do I need to protect the opsins and the melanin that's in my skin? If each eye needs 5,000 micrograms, right? And so when you think, right, because we have this on record, and again, as science learns better, you got to look back and you got to, so I forgot what war was it when we dropped the bombs, Nagasaki and Hiroshima, when we dropped the atomic bombs on Japan, right? A lot of promo, and I guess I'll be overlooking them when I talk about the history of CMOS, right? Well, actually, no, I guess they're not overlooked because what they contribute is not really considered to be CMOS, right? So we're gonna stick with the dreads, the rosters, and Dr. Sabi for creating the vibe on the CMOS. But when it comes to the algae, right? Dropping the atomic bombs on Nagasaki, Hiroshima, that created a global demand for the green algae specifically, right? Because the world found out that they fought off nuclear radiation with algae, right? Now we know, thanks to Dr. EnQi, that CMOS is actually different strands of algae. So it's all one thing, right? Phycology, right? Now we know, thanks to Dr. EnQi, that it's the study of phycology, right? But nobody has attributed the benefit of the green algae being able to fight the radiation to the ability of algae to perform photosynthesis at a faster rate than any other thing on Earth. Like, algae is more efficient than land plants. And the reason being is because of the pigment content. So really it's the pigment content, right, of the algae that allowed these people to come back so fast after a nuclear attack, right? Pigment, right? Not necessarily algae, but the pigment that algae contain, which is what allows them to photosynthesize at such a fast rate, right? Okay. Got it. Got it. Right? We have noticed that's why the focal point of our diet is what? Pigment and fiber. Get in more light, get in more water. More light, more water, more health. Simple, it's a simple trifecta. More light, more water, more health. Keep it simple, stupid, right? Kiss, right? So, Jada Kisser. And even if your chick let me twist her 9 out of 10 times, I'm a diss. I don't know why that popped into my mind just now. Anyway, so if you go on these prolonged fasts for longevity, right? Where are you getting that daily X amount of thousands of these particular types of vitamin A at to protect your skin and your eyes? And let's take it a step further than that, right? Because we also know that all of your blood vessels are lined with melanopsin, right? Which is also an opsin. So what is the correct amount of dosage that your blood vessels need of these vitamin A's to protect your blood vessels? What's the right amount? Science has not addressed these things yet. We are ahead of the learning curve. This is why when I start putting the CMOS together, I was focused on what? Pigment content. These niggas is focused on all of these other people selling you CMOS. They're focused on how cheaply they can buy it and how much they can sell it to you for, period. I know, because I'm behind the curtain. So I know they just treat it as a business. And this was the whole thing I had with, with King Erner specifically, you know what I'm saying? Because I created the health demand in Black and Nobel in Philly. And when I left Black and Nobel in Philly, Hawk and Tyson bring in King Erner to fill the void that I left there with the CMOS, right? So it was for me, not just as the young elder of the entire community, to address King Erner, but specifically as his, progenitor almost, in a way, you know what I'm saying? Like I created the spot you're filling, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know what if they gave you the right education on whose shoes you're walking in, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's me. I literally slept in Black and Nobel, you know what I'm saying? Like that was my spot, you know what I'm saying? So that was my whole thing with King Erner, was that, the CMOS, you can't just do it like, okay, I'm buying this amount for $5 so I can sell this amount for this. And because it's CMOS, it has all of these benefits. That's not how it goes. CMOS is a wide It's a general term for thousands and thousands of different types of algae. And each one of those algae has different benefits and they affect the body different. So you can't generalize it, because although you might be correct in saying sea moss does this, the specific type of sea moss that you have may not do that, right? So sea moss in general, as speaking about thousands of different types of algae, sure. Yeah, if you want to say sea moss is antiviral, sea moss helps you to do this and this. Yeah, but does the one that you have, the one that I just got from you, does this one do that thing you're talking about? That may or may not be true. You know what I'm saying? And I'm only highlighting King Erna because he did the work to make his name so big. So I'm just using his name as an example because most people watching will know that name, right? But zillions of people I've challenged on the sea moss to get more education out there in terms of the algae and so on and so forth, right? But that's why we focused in on the pigment part, right? The pigment part of the algae, because that is the primary, that's the primary part of the algae where most of the benefit comes from. And, you know, obviously it's not the only nutritious part of algae, because algae is vitamin rich, mineral rich, etc., but it's pigment that dictates the rest of the chain, right? The pigment dictates what mineral content there'll be, what vitamin content there'll be, what fat content there'll be, etc., right? So, and then obviously some other genetic stuff with the algae species and environmental stuff in terms of where it's grown, right? Cold water, hot water, etc., right? So all of these things are relatively new. These concepts that we're talking about, relatively new to consider. So when we go back to longevity, and of course, you know, this video is getting long, but you know, I'm gonna try my best to break it down and to make it as palatable as possible, right?
We getting seed money. We need seed money. That's that seed money. We need that.
Introduction. These books are
Introduction. Yeah, but introduction to what? What is this? You're just introductioning up to people. All right, so this is the first book of the Generational Health series. Right? This is the first book. It's called what? What's the title of this book?
Atoms of Self-Development.
Atoms of Self-Development. Atoms of Self-Development. Come on, you can't be shy. You gotta say it like you when. Okay, look, just think that nobody's looking. Just come on, just say it out loud, lady. All right, so now we ready for you to bust out the introduction. Now we know what you introducing us to. Now you can, you know.
Introduction. These books are to be read as a family to create this.
Don't rush on up. You got to slow it down. Relax. Come on, look. Yeah, in your nose, out your mouth. Come on. Come on, lady. All right, now that you're relaxed, everybody, you know, you got your vibe.
These books are to be read as a family to create discussions, group learning, group sharing. This is how we build generational health, learning and teaching as a family. Chemistry
Hold up. You can't listen. You can't just fly through it, okay? It's going to be a lot of people in the YouTube world, like 100 people. They all going to be watching, right? You can't just go fast. You got to relax. So do you want to say peace or anything to the people out there? Tell them to go get the books.
Go get my dad's books. They're pretty good.
These are reasons why I'm not a fan of calorie, like extreme fasting, where we're going on dry fast and water fast for long periods of time, right? Because your body needs certain things every day. So, the bottom of page 213, right? In allometric scaling, maximum potential lifespan, MPLS, is directly related to metabolic rate, where the metabolic rate is the recharge state of a biomass made up of covalent bonds, right? Let me rewind that for you. I know some folks got that the first time. Some people like, wait, what you say, Willis? I'll rewind that back. In allometric scaling, maximum potential lifespan is directly related to metabolic rate, right? Your metabolism, where the metabolic rate or your metabolism is the recharge state of a biomass made up of covalent bonds, right? So I keep saying it's levels. So one of the things that you'll notice in the generational health series, right? Because I keep saying it's for children and or, people that's just getting familiar with the science, right? Because we go through chemistry, biochemistry, right? And building an understanding. Excuse me. And building up the understanding, right? And this is why I talk about in the series, you'll notice that, we speak about atoms and atoms interchangeably so that you can understand the relationship between atoms is important to understand everything else in science. It's all built on that. So traditionally organic, whereas now when people hear the term organic, you're related to food, and it's crazy because organic is a selling thing. Now you put organic on the thing, you can charge more money for it. It can, or if you leave it at the same prices of the items, it'll sell faster because people will believe that means this is the maximum healthy thing. That term in the marketplace does not mean today what it once meant in science. Originally in science, organic just meant carbon containing, right? Carbon containing with covalent bonds, right? You got ionic, covalent. Ionic is kind of parasitic and not really, covalent bonds is the stuff life is made out of, right? So people, animal, plants, algae, etc., covalent bonds, right? And then in the the photochemistry book, right? This is why you need all of these books, right? In the photochemistry book, and I did this by hand myself, so I know for a fact it doesn't exist anywhere else. If you go to page 4, right? Page 4 and 5. It's a couple of pages, rather, it's in the book a couple of times. But if you go to page 4 and 5, that's the first time it's in the book. We converted the electromagnetic spectrum into electricity. We converted the full spectrum into electricity so that it makes more sense, because you got to understand atoms are bound together by electrons. So at the end of the day, electrons are everything, right? Electrons are everything. That's literally what's happening. Like all of your chemistry is just about electron movement. And even when you get into light and magnetism, plasma, right? It's electron movement, right? Gas, liquid, solid, all of those things, electron movement. So that's why we have our saying, right? Plasma carries electric currents. How exactly did we? Plasma carries electric currents. Plasma carries electric currents, moving electric fields creates magnetism, and alternating electric and magnetic fields creates light, right? So you got to remember, electricity is the medium that everything is built around, right? Or electrons anyway, the thing that everything is built around. Atoms bond, specifically in covalent bonds anyway, it's about electrons, right? And when you're talking about how light interacts with matter or even living creatures, it's about how light translates to movement. How light translates to movement. So when the body absorbs UVB specifically, it's going to create chemical reactions, which means it's going to create movement, right? It's going to create movement. And that movement is going to now start to rearranging some things. It's going to start rearranging atomic structures, the way atoms are combined. And it's going to take something that's already there. It's going to take something that's already there. And because it's now going to start rearranging stuff, it's going to make something new out of something that was already there, right? So when UVB hits your body, the cholesterol that was sitting there is now going to get rearranged into something that resembles vitamin D, right? So it's called the pre-vitamin D, right? Because that UVB light is going to change the structure of the cholesterol, right? And now once that cholesterol structure is changed, it can't sit in the skin anymore. It can't sit in the skin anymore, right? So your body has to get it out of the skin, pushes it into the blood. From the blood, to the kidneys and the liver, and then the kidneys and the liver take that changed up type of cholesterol and change it again. And the kidneys creates one type of vitamin D, and the liver creates another type of vitamin D. Right? Not the same. Right? So you have a lot of different steps in the conversion of cholesterol to what we call vitamin D3, right? But it's really a whole bunch of different active compounds from different steps in the chain of chemical reactions and changes, right? But that's what the light is only interacting with the electrons. And because the electrons now get energized, the electrons themselves create all the other chemical changes, which is basically atoms rearranging themselves, right? And when that starts to happen, you have a new molecule or a new compound, right? So that's how light is going to take something that's there and turn it into something else, right? Because it's going to change the potential energy into kinetic energy, or it's going to enhance already existing kinetic energy, right? So if something is moving, light's going to make it move faster. If something's not moving and stationary to an extent or static, light will, translate some of that potential to make it start to move kinetic. So you go from potential energy to kinetic energy. And if the energy is too high, right, because that's UVB, right? UVC, that energy is so high, your body can't do anything constructive with it, right? And so it starts to damage the DNA and blah, blah, blah. You go down a whole nother different path. But it's important, or for us, it was important to translate the electromagnetic spectrum into electricity, so you could it makes it easier to understand the chemistry part or the biochemistry, or like how it affects your body, right? So anyway, in allometric scaling, maximum potential lifespan is directly related to metabolic rate, where metabolic rate is the recharge rate of a biomass, right? A living mass made of covalent bonds. The biomass is subject to deterioration over time from thermodynamic and entropic pressure, right? So that's basically your body breaking down from utilizing energy, right? Utilizing energy. Metabolism is essentially understood as redox coupling, right? Redox coupling meaning adding electrons and subtracting electrons. That's what redox is, right? Redox is reduction and oxidation. Reduction means that you're adding electrons in. Oxidation means you're taking electrons out. So again, metabolism is essentially understood as redox coupling and has nothing to do with thermogenesis. Metabolic efficiency is then expressed as the efficiency of this coupling, right? So metabolic efficiency is about how well that balance is. Adding electrons, subtracting, right? So hypothetically, if you add just as many electrons as you subtract, you should never age, right? You should never age, hypothetically, right? At the point where your body starts to lose electrons faster than you can replace them, right? Losing life force faster than you can create it or sustain it, you're slowly but surely starting to get old, right? You're slowly but surely starting to get old, right? And this is why in our book, Black Gene Ethics, I wrote a book 20 years ago called Black Gene Ethics. In that book, I had a formula for aging. I had a formula for aging that included the microbiome. Because the microbiome, we forget, these are living things that are, so first of all, you got a microbiome, which is widely acknowledged, right? You got a bunch of bacteria that live in your body and on your body. What we don't really, because it's not widely discussed yet, is that each one of those bacteria are also the same way we carry bacteria in our body and on our body. Each bacteria carries viruses in and on its body. And we are the energy source for the bacteria and all of its miniature and micro life forms, right? This is the reason when you put a body in a coffin, right? You put a body in a coffin, where do the worms come from? Right? Where does all the little bacterias and where does all those things that break the body down come from? Right? They come from the body. Right? So this is why back in Kemet in Egypt, they figured out how to preserve the body by making a salt-based mixture, right? A, keep the body super dry, but B, keep the body as free of microbes as possible. And you'll be able to preserve the body for a long period of time, right? But anyway, so hypothetically, electricity in, electricity out, right? Metabolic efficiency is then expressed as the efficiency of this coupling, a ratio of amps, right? Amperes or amps for short, right? Captured and used by biomass to the amps available for that purpose, right? Amps in, amps out. Metabolic rate is measured in watts. Let me make sure I'm using the right. Oh, yeah. Metabolic rate is measured in watts. Biomass is measured in grams. These factors are combined in a power law, an elaboration of Kleber's law relating metabolic rate to weight, right? Or mass, biomass, and maximum lifespan, MPLS, maximum potential lifespan, right? And then we get this little complicated math formula. If you have your book, you'll have it in front of you. If not, go get your book, right? You need to have your book. We're on page 214. When metabolic efficiency is 100%, the metabolic rate is somewhere around 3/4 of what the biomass and blah, blah, blah. So we know, okay, full stop for a second. We remember Kleber's law because we started this journey. We're about 60 books in. We started this journey with me unraveling Kleber's mystery surrounding Kleber's law, right? Where living creatures only seem to be producing 3/4 the amount of energy that their body was using. And there was a mystery, 15, 20, 25% of energy that creatures used every day, blah, blah, blah. So that was the birth of the concept of electromagnetic tissue and energy and tissue that not only produces the energy it needs, but surplus of energy that other tissues can then pull from, right? So that's the Kleber's law thing. So skip to page 215. Cardiovascular implications. The heart rate is determined by the medulla oblongata and part of the pons, two organs located inferior to the hypothalamus on the brainstem. Heart rate is important for basal metabolic rate and resting metabolic rate because it drives the blood supply, stimulating the Krebs cycle. Full stop right there. Okay, so now we have the science on metabolic rate, and now we're getting an anatomical description of the origin of the metabolic rate, right? Where your metabolic rate is coming from, what drives the metabolic rate, right? The heart rate is determined by the medulla oblongata and part of the... Now, hold on, before we even go further, what's the number one problem with metabolic disease? You have a problem with the metabolism, then what you get? Cardiovascular disease or heart disease, right? So 1 plus 1 equals 2, right? If P, then Q. Y'all got to stop sleeping on that if P, then Q book. If P, then Q, right? Heart rate is determined by the medulla oblongata and part of the pons, two organs located inferior to the hypothalamus on the brainstem. Heart rate is important for basal metabolic rate and resting metabolic rate because it drives blood supply, stimulating the Krebs cycle. So, two things, right? We have two things that actually drive the blood supply, right? Water, right? We have spent a whole bunch of time on it, right? We call it the water mill, right? The water mill, the cycle of water in your body, right? From the time you drink water, right, to the water going through the digestive system, intestines, into the blood, through the blood, into the connective tissue and the fascia and the interstitial fluid, into the cells, clean the cells, out of the cells, into the lymphatic ducts, around the lymphatic system, clean out all the filters of the body, the lymph nodes, recycle, right? Drop the trash from the lymph nodes, wherever it needs to go, colon, bladder, wherever, get this out of the body, right? Then back through the clavicle area, back into circulation to do it all again through the circulatory system, right? That's your water system, right? So that speed and powers metabolism. Well, that's based on the heart activity, but also extended to the skeletal muscle. And so in ancient Egypt, they saw this bridge as the most important thing because the same bridge that connects the heart to the skeletal muscle also connects the heart to the spine, right? So this bridge was considered the most important thing to longevity, period. in all like walking life forms. That's the aorta, right? That's why it was considered to be magical, right? Because this, bar none, has the largest effect on your longevity than any other single part of your body, because it's going to have an impact on the heart, the spine, the skeletal muscle, the brain, how much brand new blood is constantly produced from the bone marrow, how fast the bone marrow turns into fat. Like all of those things are going to happen right there throughout the aorta, right? Even this magical thing.
It ain't no fun when a rabbit got the gun, you heard? Faith and love, love and faith, faith and love, love.
Faith and love, love and faith, faith and love. Yo, hold on. I want to hear that song right now, real quick. Yo, I think we need to take a song break. Make sure y'all still listen to the album. Okay, hold on, sir. Make sure y'all still listen to the album. You know what I'm saying? I think y'all forgot there's an album.
We getting seed money. Woo. Woo. We need seed money. That's that seed money. We need that.
Introduction. These books are...
Introduction? Yeah, but introduction to what? What is this? You're just introductioning up to people. All right, so this is the first book of the Generational Health series, right? This is the first book. It's called what? What's the title of this book?
Atoms of Self-Development.
Atoms of Self-Development. Atoms of Self-Development. Come on, you can't be shy. You gotta say it like you when. Okay, look, just think that nobody's looking. Just come on, just say it out loud, lady. All right, so now we ready for you to bust out the introduction. Now we know what you introducing us to. Now you can,
Introduction. These books are to be read as a family to create this.
Don't rush, hold up. You gotta slow it down. Relax. Come on, look. Yep, in your nose, out your mouth. Come on. Come on, lady. All right, now that you're relaxed, everybody, you got your vibe.
These books are to be read as a family to create discussions, group learning, group sharing. This is how we build generational health, learning and teaching as a family. Chemistry.
Hold up. You can't listen. You can't just fly through it, okay? It's going to be a lot of people in the YouTube world, like 100 people. They all going to be watching, right? You can't just go fast. You got to relax. So, do you wanna say peace or anything to the people out there? Tell them to go get the books.
Go get my dad's books. They're pretty good.
Faith and love. Love and faith. Believe, faith and love. Love and faith. Believe, faith and love. Love and faith. Play this song, we got babies to make. Later babies got millions to make. Let's get it. Don't forget it. Got too much at stake. Play this song, we got love to make. Dollars on us, we got babies to make. You always complain about money and time, but that don't matter if I can't raise my babies within this paradigm shift. You remember the blocks I bled on, the hand-to-hand grind. I'm on my Sabi. You still on Neanderthal time. I'm still cool with Louis and Gucci. I know what to do to spoil you. Your glamorized mind won't be wrapped in aluminum for you. But loyal is a must. All we got is trust. Conscious really mean you aware. All we got is us. Reflection. All I'm asking you to do is listen. Protection. Except when me and you creating friction. You throwing everything back in my face that I spoke with you. Instead of recognizing that's how a king share his soul with you. Ink.
Peace.
What's faith without love? Love without faith. Love without love. What's faith without love? Love without faith. Love without love. You're gonna go through that. That's how that's going. That's how that's going down. When we up. What happened when we up don't determine who we are. What happened when we down, when we come.
Baby, the paradigm is full-time fathers in drop squad kitchens. We don't sell drugs, we export physics, meaning we pimp our genetics, but not with calisthenics. We own our image and likeness, we selling our presence. Now is a gift that we spend in shopping, bending optics, monetizing trending topics. The tag is vital, Beyonce half a title. Math is vital, your past is idle. The bag is vital, the swag is vital. Contagious is an understatement. Your faith to have a nigga bigger than entertainment. I just want to tuck you away so you don't have to grind no more. With the mind of a genius and a dick like a dinosaur. What's faith without love? Love without faith. Love without love. What's faith without love? Love without faith. Love without love. Love without us. Love without us. Love without us. Love without us. Faith and love. Love and faith. Believe, faith and love. Love and faith. Believe, faith and love. Love and faith. Play this song, we got babies to make. Later babies got millions to make. Let's get it. Don't forget it. Got too much at stake. Play this song, we got love to make. Dollars on us, we got babies to make. Love without us. 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 Love without us.
We are going to.
Now you're going to violate me with a commercial. So y'all forgot we had some hits on this, man. Y'all forgot. Y'all forgot we had some hits on this joint.
Getting seed money.
Yeah, so right now this is the Cash App song. I'm gonna rename this the Cash App song. We need seed money. Come on, go to Cash App and send in some seed money.
We getting seed money. We need seed money. That's that seed money. We need that. Make money. Make money. Make money. Make money. Make money, show love, get diamonds out the mud. Make money, show love, get diamonds out the mud. Make money, show love, get diamonds out the mud. Make money, show love, get diamonds out the mud. The porn middle class, treadmill in the rat race, and they either fast with God or to get fat pace. The cheat code, the light is plants or be sloppy. Vegan include marijuana, coca, poppy. Like not just information, it's the fabric of your soul. Aromatic amino acids grant biological control, the opposite of religion. Open mind benefits. Sensimilla is marijuana, pathogenesis in the rat race with plants. Numbing pain is the goal. In the guard race, the art of plants articulate the soul. The war on drugs is a play, an act with an arm. Hello, non-believers out there. This is Sunday school. I am the minister. FBP. We come around once in a blue moon, just to show you that we love you and we'll never leave, 'cause we are anointed. We're the same way every day, 'cause we're angels, some mighty and some meek, and we're sent down from the heavens to achieve a destiny. Yes, we're angels, and we seek our own reproof. And we represent the same God who sent his only son for you. Yes, we're in city to city. Trauma's the same. Refugee certified, they know my name. Drowning in debt, coming up with the bins in a situation where the means justify the ends. What's the best tool to build? Could it be drugs? Could it be thugs or brotherly love? These babies gotta eat, so it really don't bother me. As long as we escape poverty, racing for the worst, on the quest for the best. When other niggas spit, I pledge my flesh to my last breath. And I ain't never stop, I never turn back. The evil that men do can never turn black. In the slums with bums that take your life for crumbs. G stood plumb on their square and made men out of sons. Fiending to live, we scratch that itch while you were scared to take a risk. We smack that bitch. We're angels, some mighty and some meek, and we're sent down from the heavens.
Destiny. Yeah, I forgot, right? Anyway, we need seed money. Yeah, that's the Cash App moment. We're going to rename that the Cash App song. That's what I need to do. When I put the Cash App, that's what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to try to remember to do that. When I put the sign up for everybody to go send me some cash, you know, I'll put that. We need seed money. Yeah, we're going to put that together. All right. So, but we started with this, though. Hold on. We started with this before we got lost. Right? We had to take it down. Right? So your mind could reset, right? We had to take it down for a second. So, again, there's a point in science where we learn, okay, heart rate is determined by the medulla oblongata and part of the pons, two organs located inferior to the hypothalamus on the brainstem. Heart rate is important for metabolic, blah, 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 blah. Now, we learned that the entire brain, which includes the medulla oblongata, right? And the medulla oblongata is important because inside the medulla oblongata, right, you have the box that controls your breathing, right? But the entire brain is regulated by the heartbeat, right? And how does that work? The heartbeat, right? Well, the heartbeat is regulated by the cardiac melanocytes, right? But then you have pigment in the face of the aorta, right? Which is basically the mouth of the aorta. So where the royal arch, the holy royal arch, right? The royal arch, where the arch of the heart merges with the mouth of the aorta, right? Right there, the pulse, the aortic pulse, which basically regulates the rest of the body, is created right at that merger part. That aortic pulse is what travels to the brain and keeps the brain in sync with the heart. Peace and blessings out there to everybody. My name is Dr. EnQi, the founder of the Melanin versus Diabetes movement and ministry. Our goal is to fight diabetes by creating a biochemically literate society, one book at a time, one person at a time, one household at a time. Join us now by going to Amazon.com. So that aortic pulse is what controls the rhythm of the brain. That beat of the brain also has to stay coupled to the beat of the heart, right? That coupling of the heartbeat to the brain beat is what controls the flow of cerebral spinal fluid through the spine and through the four ventricles of the brain, right? Through the four ventricles of the brain. That then controls the regular. So you could say, in a sense, that the heart is in soul control and self-regulating on multiple levels, right? Self-regulating, but it's through the aorta, right? Like literally and figuratively, the aorta is an arm for the heart to directly reach out and touch. Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place. That's what your heart is doing with the aorta. Is reaching out and touching all the other places. From your privates, from your privates, right? Your ability to enjoy sex, your ability to reproduce, all the way to the spine, brain, all the way down to, you know, each muscle, each mitochondria, each respiratory protein or cytochrome, like everything. And the influence, the primary influence is going to be obviously water and the electrical stimulation of the heart, which brings us back around to pigment, because obviously the cardiac melanocytes is the primary player right? So anyway, all of that just adds to the statement. So we'll go back, right? Heart rate is determined by the medulla oblongata and part of the pons, two organs located inferior to the hypothalamus on the brainstem. Heart rate is important. Also, again, breathing, right? You can control your heart rate. You can slow it down or speed it up by how fast you're breathing. Why? Because respiration is coupled to metabolism, right? All right. Anyway, so you should be getting it, right? Heart rate is determined by the medulla oblongata and part of the pons, two organs located inferior to the hypothalamus on the brainstem. Heart rate is important for the basal metabolic rate and resting metabolic rate because it drives the blood supply, stimulating the Krebs cycle. During exercise, that achieves the anaerobic threshold. It is possible to deliver substrates that are desired for optimal energy utilization. During exercise that achieves the anaerobic threshold, it is possible to deliver substrates that are desired for optimal energy utilization, right? This is the bottom of page 215. So this means that when you're exercising, what's happening? The muscles are pumping, right? So the muscles are contributing to a much more rigorous blood flow. The water mill is going faster, right? Meaning water is going a zillion miles a second from the blood to the connective tissue to the fascia to the cells through the lymphatic system, right? It's the main driver of fluid through the lymphatic system. The faster the lymphatic system is driven, the faster the circulatory system is cleaned, right? The fascia, connective tissue are clean, the internal tissues are clean. So there's a lot of things that are happening in this space, right? Now, we talk about this a little bit in the id book, right? The id book, right? You should have this book. We talk about the heart a lot from a spiritual, religious perspective in this book, but we also cover the papyri, right? We go through the papyri, or at least certain portions of the Ebers papyrus, right? So if you go to page 88, no, 89. Before we continue, let's take a organized look at the Ebers papyrus. Cross-reference these with the PhD book, pages 80 to 83. Where is... I do not have my books in order. Where is the PhD book? Like, EnQi, why you don't got your books in order? Because I got too many books. You know what? I'll be honest. I use these books too much. Like after this video, I'll go up there and organize them all. And then right after that, I'm going to be all over the place with the books. And they will come right out of organizational shape. Really, it's damn near about time I get another one of these whole shelves. Okay, now this is the body language book. I was saying you need to have this book. All right, hold on. So we're gonna pretend like we got the book. We're gonna fake it till you make it, right? But anyway, so it gives the books to cross-reference these with, right? The PhD book, the movement book, right? And the movement book, the chapter on thought, emotions, and biochemistry, and then the dope game book, pages 261 to 269. I at least have those books, right? I have the dope game book, right? We got the dope game book, and I had the movement book. I just had the movement book in my hand, literally. All right, here you go. So I got the movement book. Right? So at least if I need to pull something, I have those two. I don't know where that PhD book is. One of the children probably got it. Trying to get them ready for school, back to school time. You got to at least have a generational health series for your babies for back to school time. Anyway, so we go through the different rubrics, right? We go through the different rubrics. We got some clinical, we got a bunch of clinical stuff. You know, we got some encyclopedia stuff. But the most important thing I wanted to highlight is page 72. Page 72, we have an article in it that talks about the flow of cerebral spinal fluid being driven by arterial pulsations, right? And also that flow being reduced by hypertension. So that article is good for both purposes. A, it establishes, in fact, what I'm explaining to you about the pulses from the heart into the aorta, controlling the cerebral spinal fluid in the spine, obviously, but also in the brain. But it also tells you the damage that you have when you disconnect the heart from the brain with high blood pressure, right? So this is one of the reasons why we having such high levels of Alzheimer's, dementia, etc., you know, creeping up. Creep with me as I roll through the hood. Call me. All facts. Photons pretty much only interact with electrons. Yeah, so photons only interact with electrons. That's it. So the whole entire effect that light has on living creatures, or, animals, bodies, tissues, mass, matter, you name it, across the board, is because all mass and matter is based on atoms bonding, right? And it's funny. We literally walk through this in the generational health series. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm saying it's good for not just children, but for adults. It's a dope series the way we put the info together, right? And then we focus heavy on the vocabulary because most of us suffering from small vocabularies. Respectfully, most of us suffer from small vocabularies. Not particularly, us, because we've been studying and we're doing our thing, but for the people at large, most people suffer from small vocabulary. Our children struggle in school, and then as adults, you know what I'm saying, we cover up our lack of vocabulary, or shortened vernaculars with terms like, you know what I mean, and you know what I'm saying. So learning that most of schooling is like a 80,000, 90,000 word vocabulary list, I thought it would be a dope cheat code to have majority of those words, boop, put into books. So as you read through the books, you basically covering this huge vocabulary that your kids got to cover in school anyway. You know what I'm saying? And that we kind of need to be able to move into the next realm of living, because the world is changing, and the people that don't change with it, they're going to get left behind. And that's happening in the health space. So I don't know what people's personal belief system is or religion, whatever, but the plagues, listen, we in that time. We in that time. We we in that time period, right? So we done went from HIV to this one to that one to now we got the new thing popping. So you got to know the body, and more important than knowing the body, like I think that, and I just had that book and showed it. I think that people are. Did I throw it on the floor? I definitely threw it on the floor. I said, yeah, did I throw that on the floor? I definitely threw that on the floor. You have to have this in your house. Like, people are, when something happens, there's an outbreak or a new disease or something like that, people panic. And in their panic, the first thing, which should be happening on an ongoing basis, right? You want to learn about whatever the new disease is. You want to learn about how it affects your body. But in reality, at that moment, it's too late. You really needed to already been knew what was going on. Right? You really needed to already been knew what was going on in order to protect yourself and your family as best you can, obviously. Right? But then to take it a step further, right? Nobody, almost nobody, like, people will look to find out some home remedies. People will say, I'm gonna go to the gym and get, or like, but almost nobody decides, oh man, let me learn a new vocabulary to protect myself and my family. Like, that almost never clicks. And to be honest, it's so like counterintuitive. You don't think like, yo, it's a new disease out, I need to go read a book. Like, you don't think like those things, but that's exactly what you need if it's not a part of your lifestyle already, right? Because people who is a part of their lifestyle because they're a health professional or some whatever, they know, you know, some new words some new lingo may come out associated with whatever the new condition is, but for the most part, they already know everything else about the body and this, that, and the other, and you know, a lot of the nuanced language. So a new thing pop up, it's easy to brush up and familiarize and kind of get context clues, and you don't miss anything. But 90% of the panic comes from the ignorance of not understanding any of the conversation going on. Period. And I just don't understand how it frustrates me, because being somebody that I can't say like I'm worldly in terms of like, because I know people that have traveled all around the world. I haven't been anywhere. I've been all around America. You know what I'm saying? So maybe I'm countryly or nationally. Maybe I'm nationally. that's it right there. I'm nationally, right? For people that don't know, worldly is to be somebody that's well traveled. They've been to a bunch of different countries and all that. Like, but I've been around the States. I've been around America. You know, I've been from the ghetto to ghetto, slum to slum, you know, and I've been in some of the richest, you know, from some of the richest, wealthiest places in America to some of the most dangerous, impoverished places in America. And this is the craziest thing about this, right? And this is one of the things that baffles me, right? In the money world, right? In the money world, I know because I worked there. I worked on Wall Street before, right? In the money world, it's very important, right? Brokers, bankers, investors, day traders, like learning the language of finance, like bar none, they don't play no games with that. They learn that language. In the world of finance, people that want to understand money, they learn that language, right? Before I got a job in New York with Jim ERA Realty, I used to work for them. I had to go study and take the test. Listen, I've been on my own, right? Trying to take care of myself and some form of little ones since before I was double digits, right? You know, whether it was my little sister, my little brother, you know, because my mom's was or whether it was me as a teenage parent, you know what I'm saying, trying to provide for my babies and myself. Like it was, so I have a lot of life experience, right? So, but I had to go get my real estate license, you know, and so in the real estate space, it's a whole nother language you got to learn. Like this shit is a whole language you got to learn in the real estate space, right? And people are serious about that. They aggressive. They, you know, in the neighborhood, right? You got real estate, you got finance. That's the upper crust. The upper crust of American society. They make sure that they know real estate language. It's a language. Whole terminology just within English is still its own language because John Q. Public doesn't know it. So you can say it's a terminology, but once you go past 20, 30 words, you've left the context of terminology, because terminology makes it seem like it's 10, 15 words that you need to learn and then you Gucci. No. It's a whole thick textbook like this we needed to learn for the real estate test. In fact, the 3 toughest tests in America are usually ranked law, medicine, and real estate in some version. Sometimes they rank the medical tests as the toughest. Sometimes it's the law, whatever the case may be. Usually real estate's number 3. But I've passed 2 of those 3 tests, right? I've passed 2 of those 3 tests, right? So I know it's huge vocabularies that is really the thing that you have to learn and study for those. Now, if we go to the hood, we go to the neighborhood, we go to the street, right? Not knowing the street language can get you killed. If you're an everyday working person, depending on where you're from, you know certain things by eye. You know certain things by eye. You know when to, what places to avoid, where not to be, what times not to be there, things like that. But now, if you're a person that's in those places, learning the lingo is absolutely crucial. You got to know the language. You got to know the dress code, right? You got to know the dress code because at a job, not knowing the dress code to get you fired. In the streets, not knowing the dress code can get you killed, right? So what I'm saying is, then if you go into the scholarly place, right? If you go into the scholarship world, right? You got people studying languages. I'm gonna study. I'm into French culture, so I'm gonna study French language. I'm into ancient Egypt, so I'm gonna study ancient Egyptian culture, right? I got me a Spanish girlfriend, or so many Spanish people in America now. The city I live in. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought it was over. Listen, let me tell you, in the Bronx, growing up in the Bronx, so many Puerto Ricans, so many Dominicans. If you didn't, like, you had to know, like, it wasn't taught in school yet, but you had to know Spanish, like working Spanish, just work, just a few little terms of endearment, regular, how you doing? My name is, what's your name? And then you had to know the cuss words, right? Then you had to know commerce, right? Cuánto es, right? How much is this? Right? Then you had to know some numbers, so when you ask how much is it, they tell you the price. Some basics. So you need to know how you doing, whoop, the cuss words, how much is this, right? I thought that was over when I left New York, right? Because I moved to Georgia, and in Georgia, it's no Puerto Ricans, no Dominicans. Well, maybe now it is, but at the time when I moved there, it wasn't, right? I moved there in the early 2000s, right? But the Mexicans, I moved into Doraville, bruh. I tried to brush up that Spanish, and when I spoke to Mexicans with the broken Spanish that I knew from the Bronx, the Mexicans were offended and disrespected. They're like, "What is that?" That is I ain't gonna say how they described the language, but it was like, "That's not Spanish." I was like, "What you mean? I can understand what you're saying, and you can understand what I'm saying. So clearly, it's Spanish." He's like, "No, that's not Spanish. That's Ebonics Spanish." I was like, "I ain't trying to pass no test. I ain't trying to write gone with the wind shit. I just want you to understand me, and I want to understand you." You know what I'm saying? So, but I learned in Doraville the lesson that that's not how that goes. Right? That's not how that goes. But my point is, all of these different areas in life for one reason or another. And most of us, we live in different places. Meaning, so if you live in the Bronx, you may need to know the street lingo. You may also need to know some Spanish. If you are a teacher, you may also need to know some of that. Or maybe you're a mechanic, so you need to know the mechanic language, right? Or maybe all of these different spaces in our lives, we prioritize learning language, except for our body language. I just cannot understand that. The place that we are the most vulnerable, you go to the hospital, you don't know what the doctors are talking about. They talking about you. They talking about the survival of your mama, your husband, your wife, your daughter. You don't know what they talking about. I remember when I first started doing like traveling consultations, and I used to go with people into hospitals and all that. The biggest thing was like, I was like a translator. I'm sitting there listening to the doctors talking, and then I got to re-explain it to the person right there. I'm like, well, no. This is what they're saying. They're only saying that you got inflammation in this spot, or you got to do this. And they're like, oh, that's what that means? I'm like, yo, we need to learn this language. This is the most important language. And as the most important language, it's crazy, but it's sitting right in front of us, and there's no priority on it. There's no priority on it, but you're all going to see the doctor. You're all going to see the doctor at some point. And you're going to have those times where the doctor tells you, yo, you're in great condition, and you're going to leave the hospital feeling amazing. And then there's going to be those other times when the doctor tells you something like, and you know it's going downhill too. You could feel the energy. When the doctor check out your papers, and then before they talk to you, they go talk to somebody else. Hey, listen, when the doctor reads your stuff, your diagnosis, the test and the results and all that, they start doing shit like this. They start scratching, nurse, can you go get me doctor such and such? Now they want to talk to other doctors, and you standing, you like, so what's no, so what's going on, doc? What's happening? What that say on? What that mean on there? They're like, oh, just a second. No, everything is fine. Just hold on one second. Let me step out in the hallway. I'm gonna go talk to such and such and such, and I got a specialist down the hallway. I'm gonna confer with my specialist, and then we're gonna get right back to you. You don't even realize it, but you're so scared. You're producing so much fear hormones and fight or flight that you just making everything, whatever's already wrong, you making it 1,000 times worse because of the ignorance, fear, and superstition. Like I literally swore oath to fight ignorance, fear, and superstition amongst the people. And that starts with learning the language. Yo, you know what's funny? I probably do, because I got books that's older than me. Or I got a couple of books that's older than me. You know what I'm saying? I've lost some really expensive books. Marriages, man. But yeah, I've lost some really expensive books. But you know what I'm saying? That was primarily to Crystal, who is the mother of almost all of my children. So anything I lost during that relationship, in my mind, the way I resolve it, and I'm not, like I'm not bitter over it, is I just see it as the cost of me to have my children. You know what I'm saying? Like everything in life has a cost. So whatever I lost in terms of that relationship was the cost of me bringing these babies into the world. So but sometimes I think back to stuff that, but I still have some old books, but I had some really old books, like from Strands in New York. Man, back in the 90s, I was living in Strands. Like, I spent a lot of time in Strands bookstore.
We getting seed money. We need seed money. That's that seed money. We need that.
Introduction. These books are...
Introduction? Yeah, but introduction to what? What is this? You're just introductioning up to people. All right, so this is the first book of the Generational Health series, right? This is the first book. It's called what? What's the title of this book?
Atoms of Self-Development.
Atoms of Self-Development. Atoms of Self-Development. Come on, you can't be shy. You got to say it like you when. Okay, look, just think that nobody's looking. Just come on, just say it out loud, lady. All right, so now we ready for you to bust out the introduction. Now we know what you introducing us to. Now you can,
Introduction. These books are to be read as a family to create this.
Don't rush, hold up. You got to slow it down. Relax. Come on, look. Yep, in your nose, out your mouth. Come on. Come on, lady. All right, now that you're relaxed, everybody, you got your vibe.
These books are to be read as a family to create discussions, group learning, group sharing. This is how we build generational health, learning and teaching as a family. Chemistry.
Hold up. You can't listen. You can't just fly through it, okay? It's going to be a lot of people in the YouTube world, like 100 people. They all going to be watching, right? You can't just go fast. You got to relax. So do you want to say peace or anything to the people out there? Tell them to go get the books.
Go get my dad's books. They're pretty good.